Hello and welcome. I'm Heisey, and there's one question that seems to always circle around me. Why do I even like Tokusatsu? It has bad CG, it's super inconvenient to watch, and sometimes it really does just feel like a really long toy advert. And I mean, hey, it's a bunch of grown-ups in rubber suits and spandex, and it has bad effects, so why do I like it? The easy answer is, well, because I do. But I've never been the type of person to be able to accept that as an explanation for why I enjoy anything that I like. I just have this need to poke and prod and figure out, why do I like something? And with Tokusatsu, it's something I just can't seem to put my finger on. I became interested in exploring Tokusatsu when I was 30, after I saw a panel at an anime convention. But what made me investigate more? An obvious answer would be nostalgia, and yeah, sure. I think that was a partial catalyst. The first things I wanted to explore were things that I already knew. I wanted to know where things like VR Troopers or Superhuman Samurai came from. For a long time, since I didn't really know what I was watching, I would just refer to all Henshin hero shows as Sentai shows. Once I learned that Tokusatsu was a mother genre for filming special effects for TV and movies, it was like a huge door opened for me. I wanted to know what kind of shows and experiences I've kept locked away from myself. So I started exploring the source material of the shows that I already knew. Finding Gridman for Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad or Zyuranger for Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Or the multiple Metal Hero shows composited together to make shows like VR Troopers and Big Bad Beetleborgs. I started to lock into it in ways that I really didn't expect. I live in a world where there's no shortage of superheroes in movies and TV shows. I can watch Thanos throw a moon, and while there's this bombast to it that, while incredibly impressive, I can't help but sometimes feel the difference between the reality I'm watching and the reality I live in. With less use of sets and more on-location filming, Tokusatsu has a sense of presence and this lack of gloss that I didn't realize I missed until I saw it. And I want to be clear, I'm not saying that a highly produced Hollywood superhero film is worse than a overproduced toy commercial with questionable computer graphics made for a limited audience. Just that its lack of refinement felt new to my eyes. It's like pouring your soul into recording an album and making sure that every detail is crisp and pristine and perfect and safe. And then you listen to a bootleg Bad Brains album and you just get this feeling of unlimited freedom. I like comic books or graphic novels or whatever you want to call them. And there are plenty of exceptions to what I'm about to say. But I feel like in mainstream comics, at least Marvel or DC, heroes are never truly allowed to die. A story's never really allowed to end. On one hand, I think that's great. The idea that a kid in the 1940s and a little 7-year-old me could both say we love Batman comics is pretty awesome. But sometimes I feel like that lack of finality makes it feel like something's missing. I understand that there's universes and timelines and different runs and different creators. You can get a brand new version of a superhero equipped with a new origin, a new brand, a new name, a new person. But when trying to jump into a new run, it's hard for me not to feel alienated without knowing the entire history of a hero, their story permutations, and this pantheon of characters that I'm not aware of. Where when I've watched something like Kamen Rider Build, I've seen Sento's journey as a Kamen Rider. And yes, he's going to have a few summer movies and crossovers will probably never stop happening. But it's still Sento. And his past and his arc as a Kamen Rider has ultimately come to a close. There's a permanence to it that doesn't give me the same levels of anxiety that I get when I try to jump into a Batman or a Spider-Man or a Daredevil. One of the most recognizable Tokusatsu shows in America is obviously Power Rangers. and its source material is Super Sentai. And one thing I really found interesting is that while there are always tropes and ideas that will always be present, there's this sense of flexibility to a tokusatsu show that I find really encouraging. Power Rangers ownership has bounced from Saban to Disney, back to Saban, and then ultimately to Hasbro, and it aired on at least 3 different networks. There are changes to tone and story beats, but for the most part, it typically hits a lot of the same notes. You can always quickly identify a season of Power Rangers, where Super Sentai, Kamen Rider, and Ultraman are all shows that can change core things about its identity from year to year. You can have a whole Ultraman show with no Ultraman in it. You can have episodes in Ultra 7 where Ultra 7 just doesn't show up. And yes, some of this is just trends and writers and all of the same things that are going to affect any long-running franchise. But there can be really striking changes just a series or 2 apart. Kamen Rider Double does not feel like Kamen Rider Forze. They definitely have their similarities, and you're not going to mistake them for something else other than Kamen Rider, but there's a freedom there to lean into more drama elements or lean into the more humor or mystery, and I just find that really refreshing. A good example of its flexibility is Zyuranger, the Sentai series that was used for Power Rangers Zeo. The show was intended to have a more serious script as part of the anniversary, but unfortunately, due to real-life terrorist attacks and natural disasters, the show pivoted to a different tone and leaned more into its comedic, lighthearted elements. I think this flexibility allows for a wider range of experiences, and I actually love that just because I love a season or a series of Kamen Rider doesn't mean I'm going to like everything the franchise has to offer. So, why do I even watch Tokusatsu? I still don't know, but I do, and I'm glad I found it. It's that flight of fancy I felt as a kid watching Star Wars. It's the imagination inside of interesting storytelling. It's that juxtaposition around making a show that's designed to sell you toys. I don't know if I'll ever have an answer to this question, but I'm going to keep asking it, and I'm going to keep watching. So enough about me. What about you? Why do you watch Tokusatsu? Leave a comment, tweet, or make your own video and tell me why you watch Tokusatsu. I'm sure we're all drawn to different things, and I'm probably more interested in hearing what draws you to Tokusatsu than to try to figure out why I am. But that's it. I'm High C, and I hope you keep watching.